What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are all enjoying your wonderful day. And this is going to be a live stream here on the winter storm, or so-called named Winter Storm Izzy, which is obviously going to be affecting much of portions of the deep southeast and towards the southern Appalachians, as well bringing in a massive and possibly even crippling ice threat across the Appalachian Mountains, including South Carolina and North Carolina and the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. But basically in this video, I'm going to be going over the overall timing, the location, and the worst impacts from this winter storm from Oklahoma up to Maine. And I was going to film a video, but the amount of information I'm going to be fitting inside this live stream would not fit inside the video. So that is why I'm actually streaming. I'm going to make sure, I'm just going to wait for a few more people to actually join this stream before I actually get into the forecast itself. But like I said, the reasoning why I am streaming is because I would do a video, but I just can't fit all the information I want to fit in here. And I do apologize, sometimes these webcams do go out a little bit. But yeah, basically, this is exactly what the stream's going to be about. The timing, the ice threat, the snow threat, the timing, all of that good stuff. And I'm actually going to have Streamlabs on the other screen here so I can see the chat current time here. But here's the overall look at the National Weather Service update. So we do actually have winter storm warnings actually all across this general vicinity right here from Winter Storm Izzy. I mean, it obviously brought in some significant snowfall across the central plains as well the Midwest yesterday. It did as well bring in, I believe, not half a foot, I believe it did bring in like 5 inches for portions like Omaha, Nebraska. Current time here. Oops, I accidentally got my audio there on YouTube on accident. But it did bring as well, I think, over nearly a foot for Des Moines, Iowa. It really brought a ton of snow here, and the overall observations are going to really impact the snowfall. And this is going to be a very tricky snowstorm. The location of everything really plays a huge factor into why coastal areas are going to get snow, and as well why even portions of Tennessee are in the middle of the watch hole. But here's the overall forecast on the National Weather Service. So we do have two portions of warnings. We have a windstorm warning right here across the Mississippi River Valley. And then we do have, let me actually change the thickness of that. So we do have one alley right here in the windstorm warnings across Arkansas, western Tennessee, and western Mississippi. And then we do have another large area of windstorm warnings all the way from northwestern and north central Georgia along the Appalachians and just west of I-95 all the way up towards the Great Lakes. So complete states are under windstorm warnings or engulfed by warnings, including areas like West Virginia, for example. They are just completely engulfed. And for those wondering what cities are actually in this webcam, this is actually Springfield, Missouri, and Harrison, Arkansas. So these are two areas kind of towards the Ozarks or just outside the Ozarks. So you can just see how significant the snowfall is right now across the Ozarks. And that's why we do have a few winter warnings in those higher elevations in Arkansas. So let's go ahead and get a quick look here at the overall forecast for the Arkansas region. So if you look at the overall snowfall, we are going to be seeing probably maybe 3 to 4 inches across the area, and then possibly even up to a trace 2 inches across west or across eastern Oklahoma. So could as well see some significant snowfall across that area. If we look at the overall winds, we are actually going to be seeing some pretty strong winds as this low pressure does strengthen. As well, we do have a strengthening upper level low, which is also going to bring some strong winds. But here's the overall forecast. It is going to be pretty cold. Highs are not going to get above freezing across these areas. And let's now get into the big part. We do actually have our first ice storm warnings across the southeast in a while. I don't know the exact date when we last had ice storm warnings across South Carolina and Georgia, but just know it has been a while. So we do have our first ice storm warnings in the southeast in, I'd say, a good few years here. So here's the overall National Weather Service forecast for these areas under the ice storm warnings. So we're going to be watching out for significant icing. Expected ice accumulation of 1/10 to 4/10 of an inch, and totals of snow and sleet accumulation up to 1 inch, with gusting up to 35 miles an hour. And it's common sense that with this type of scenario, we are watching out for widespread, if not almost guaranteed, power outages across this area, with maybe with a quarter of an inch of ice, which is extremely significant in the southeast or even anywhere. Plus the strong wind gusts up to 35 miles an hour. So that is really significant. We could very well see some pretty widespread power outages. This is going to include the lower Piedmont of upstate South Carolina and northeast Georgia for Elbert County and Chester County. As well, we could be seeing some light rain, possibly mixing in with some snow and sleet, which will begin this evening and will gradually change over the freezing rain early Sunday morning. The precipitation should taper off Sunday afternoon and evening. So that's the overall kind of discussion. An ice storm warning means severe winter weather conditions are expected or occurring. Significant amounts of ice accumulation will make travel dangerous or impossible. So just know, do not travel if you're anywhere really in a winter storm warning watch or advisory. You should not travel just for safety concerns. And if you do travel, if you need to completely travel, please have extra supplies like flashlights, I mean, not everybody has generators, but flashlights, batteries, water, bread, all of that stuff. Because I went to the store just like 5 minutes ago, and there was no bread, no water. So please take action as you can now. As well, we do have these windstorm warnings and watches all the way up to the northeast, as this will go up through MLK Day. So please do not travel on MLK Day either. But we are going to be seeing some significant snowfall in the portion of the western northeast, and not necessarily the coastal areas or the eastern northeast like you typically see in the northeast at this time of the year. But we do have winter warnings across western Virginia, western and central North Carolina, all of West Virginia, eastern Ohio towards western western New York and western Pennsylvania, with a few watches including the areas across Pennsylvania, New York, and as well into New England, with as well some wind chill advisories across upper New England. And then we have advisories all the way up to the North Carolina coast here, practically getting close to the coast. We do actually have advisories including the Jacksonville, North Carolina area. We are going to be seeing possibly some slight icing across that area. But even the overall areas like Asheville are going to get absolutely demolished by this snowstorm. We're going to be seeing starting off as ice, and then as the mid-levels cool off, we're going to be transitioning to some snow. Also, I'm actually in a winter storm warning right now in Hall County, as we are watching out for some pretty significant storms. Even Atlanta's under a winter weather advisory now, so we are continuing to watch out for really a lot of updates. And I know this is not part of the overall winter weather forecast, but we do also have tsunami advisories across areas along the west coast here, as there was a very strong volcano eruption. But I will keep that up. I will keep that into consideration for today's forecast. But let me go ahead and now get into the overall, really the potential winter storm impacts here. So this is where you're going to really watch out your impacts. If you are affected by this storm, let me know your state in the comments below, so I can give you guys an overall general forecast on how significant this storm could be for your area. Or if you know anyone in this area, please let them know. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and look at the comment section real quickly here. Let's see here. My friend is in Williamson County, Tennessee, is wondering if he will get more than 3 inches. Do you know? I'm actually not completely sure where Williamson County, Tennessee is. Give me a quick second as I look that up. I'm not 100% sure where that is, if I'm being honest. I'm only really well known for my Georgia counties. Williamson County, Tennessee. And again, be sure, guys, ask questions for their location or anyone else's location, so I can get a forecast. Because this is going to be a very, very tough forecast, to say the least. I mean, there's going to be a lot of factors, and I'm not sure why these webcams keep going out. But that's just a glimpse on those webcams, what the storm's bringing in for the Missouri area and Arkansas area and the Ozarks. That will soon make its way towards Tennessee, Mississippi, possibly even Alabama later tonight, as well eventually to Georgia and the Carolinas as that CAD moves in. But let's see, Williamson County, Tennessee. Let's see where that is. All right, that is in the central Tennessee area. That's actually near Nashville. Okay, that's near Nashville. So Williamson County is actually probably going to be seeing some very significant snowfall. I say probably around 1/2 foot or so. that's just a broad forecast. But here's the overall look at the overall impact. This is just the overall impact. So notice how we do have a major impacts in Arkansas. This is gonna be in the next few hours here. Right now, my webcams are right here in Springfield, and then there's another one here near Harrison, Arkansas, which is right here in that moderate. So as we continue the next few hours, we will start to see some significant snowfall as this low pressure does go through cyclogenesis. We're going to start to see some more significant snowfall. Here's the overall prediction now. So look how widespread this overall impacts is with the next 3 days. So I'm gonna go to a thicker pen, all the way from really Tulsa area and eastern Oklahoma all the way up towards Maine. We are gonna be seeing some type of impacts from this snowstorm, and it's going to be really widespread. This could very well be one of our most significant storms of the year, considering the radius. Although we did have some pretty significant storms for the coastal New England areas like Boston. Obviously got a pretty significant snowstorm just a few weeks ago. Obviously we've had some pretty significant storms this year, but I think this will be the most widespread, considering it came from North Dakota down to the Dixie Alley and then all the way up the East Coast. But let's now look at the overall Tennessee area. So we're also going to be seeing another threat later today, this afternoon, for Tennessee. You guys are actually in a pretty unique situation here. You guys are kind of right between those two cold fronts, and you actually are going to be in a pretty good spot, as that low pressure can be pretty far south of you, so all that cold air will be practically right over Tennessee. So we do actually have a few spots of major across the Tennessee Valley, including the Nashville area. Actually, downtown Nashville is actually in a major impact. So when a major impact would be extensive property damage, likely life-saving actions needed will likely result in major disruptions to daily life. So if you are in the major or even in enhanced, I would not recommend you guys drive whatsoever. And even if you are in the minor, I just really would not. I really would just not recommend going anywhere at this time. And it's going to go all the way up towards the northeast. But let's now keep a really quick look now. Probably one of the worst parts for this winter storm in general. So we do have a extreme impacts, actually. The only extreme impacts, I believe, on this map. And yeah, I think we only have an extreme. Actually, we have an extreme for Mount Washington too, but that makes sense. But really, we do have our main extreme area is going to be watching out for the North Carolina area. You guys are going to get absolutely just obliterated by this snowstorm. It's not going to even be the ice that's going to be the big threat for this area in the extreme impact. It's going to be the snowfall. We're not going to be measuring in inches. We are going to be measuring in feet across this area, as although there is going to be a few warm noses now and there, that's going to stick to the south. And you know why it's going to stick to the south? It's because that low pressure is going to be pretty far south. Unless that low pressure goes over Chattanooga, Asheville, Franklin, you guys are all going to get absolutely obliterated by mainly snowfall. You may get a few sleet in the early hours tonight, but it's going to be mainly snowfall. So I believe Jam Cantori went to Asheville. I believe multiple meteorologists are going to Asheville, because that's going to be a huge hot spot. But as well, we do have a few areas of major impacts across South Carolina, northeast Georgia. And then, of course, that will continue as we go to the northeast. Once this storm really starts to I'd say, really steepen, we're seeing some significant impacts across the Great Lakes. So this is going to be a very odd type nor'easter. It's actually going to favor the Great Lakes more than the actual coastal areas, which is definitely not extremely common in a Miller A or supposed Miller A type pattern. I'm actually in kind of a between, I'm really close to the moderate and the minor, so I'm kind of between the moderate and the minor. So I'll definitely see something. But look, even Spartanburg, Greenville's actually in a major as well, and then even we have a major just to the south of Charlotte. So look at these big cities that are really in an overall big threat. I mean, look at Greensboro and Winston-Salem. They're also kind of basically near the major. So this is going to be a big time threat. What's up, Andrew? How are you doing? I've not seen you in a stream in forever, so welcome back. Hey, we have a windstorm warning for a few states and a few watches and damaging ice possible. Absolutely. What's up, Bella? How are you doing? But yeah, let's now get a little bit deeper into the northeast threat. So notice how the coastal areas are just really not even in a limited impact in some areas. New York is in a limited impact, but notice how some of the typical areas you'd see typically expect to get the worst impacts in a nor'easter this time of the year they're not even really in the minor. And the reasoning for that is because this low pressure is tracking so far west. And then why is it tracking so far west? Well, there's a big high pressure that's going to move in over here. Or it's not going to move in. It's going to be, I believe the high pressure right now is across the northeast. But by the time we go to MLK Day, it's going to move off the coast. And that strong gradient of the high pressure is going to force that low pressure to go westward and not east-northeastward. So instead of it going like a typical northeaster track and really favoring the coast, it's actually going to stay pretty far west. So it's probably going to go like this and go up Baltimore. It's probably going to like go, actually that's not what I want. It's probably going to go like this. Or it's going to go like this. That would be extreme west impacts. But yeah, that's the overall prediction for this northeaster pattern or track. But again, it's going to really depend on how this low pressure interacts, because the overall forecast can really change in a matter of just minutes based on the observations, which I'll get in a few minutes. But let's now look at the overall. Let's go ahead and look at the overall snowfall amounts and that threat. So notice how we're still seeing a ton of reds for snowfall, and look how it includes the North Carolina area with an extreme impacts from snowfall. Actually. Yeah, I mean extreme impacts for just snowfall across North Carolina. I mean, we still have Nashville in that major for snowfall. We still have the area right here just south of Harrison, which is kind of where I have that top webcam. You can kind of see the Ozarks in the background, but we do have a major for Arkansas, North Arkansas, even Mississippi, of course, and then of course once we go to the Great Lakes. So we're still going to be seeing possibly some minor, maybe even a moderate for the outside of outside of New York on the New Jersey side, just to the west of I-95. And notice how I-95 is probably going to be the border, like it typically is. The I-95 is always the border for storms. I believe I don't know exactly where I-95 goes. I think I have an idea. Doesn't it go through like I don't know exactly where I-95 goes. I know it goes through Savannah. Well, I think I-95 is like this. I think it's something like this. It goes through Richmond, Baltimore, or DC, Baltimore, Annapolis, Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure I-95 is like that. So I-95 is going to practically be the deciding factor. This low pressure is going to practically ride I-95, because notice how these snowfall impacts are going to stay just the west. And I mean just the west. Look at Richmond. West Richmond is in a minor, while East Richmond is in a limited. Same thing with Annapolis. Same thing with New York. Areas west of New York are going to be in the minor, while areas east are going to be in the limited. Same thing, or it's going to be very similar for Philadelphia. It's going to be very similar for Hartford, Connecticut. It's going to be very similar for Foxborough, Massachusetts. Very similar scenario that I think, I forgot when we saw. I think there was a storm last year that kind of the I-95 border. I mean, imagine having 3 inches on one side of I-95. I mean, that'd be really odd pattern. But this is snowfall, so back to the North Carolina area. I think we may get up to 2 feet across these highest elevations, just considering that they're not going to be really seeing any ice to intervene with this snowfall accumulation. That's going to be more towards the lower elevation, like around 1,000 to maybe 1,500 feet. Okay, let's see here. Waiting this out. Don't want to spend a day sitting on I-95. Very smart decision. I would not want to spend a day on I-95. And speaking of days on highways, this kind of reminds me, if you look at the ice accumulation, this kind of reminds me of 2014, the Snowmageddon, or more like Ice-mageddon. I forgot, I think it was February 14th. For the North Carolina area, we saw extreme ice across the North Carolina and South Carolina area in 2014, which was known as their Snowmageddon. There's obviously like 3 Snowmageddons in areas of. There was obviously almost like 3 Snowmageddons in 2014, but at least the Carolina Snowmageddon happened, I believe, was it February 14th, something like that. This kind of reminds me of 2014 because the major impacts we have for ice accumulation. And would I rule out the possibility for an extreme? No. I really would not, because latest Mexico models and also the observations are really favoring are really favoring a typical ice storm setup with the warm front to the south, a occluded front between those two, the warm front and the cold front. So we are watching out for overall a pretty typical ice storm setup, and that's why I think we will probably see not a 2014 setup, but a similar 2014 setup for areas near Charlotte. So I would not recommend going on, I believe it's I-75, or no, I think it's I-85. I would not recommend going to I-85, I-95. I'm trying to think of other big interstates. I don't know too many, but really watch out as well. Accumulation is going to be just outside of Atlanta. We're going to be seeing, like I said, we're not going to be seeing anything too crazy for Asheville. Or even the Great Smoky Mountains, ice accumulation wise, that's going to be mainly snowfall. And then we're not going to be seeing any large ice accumulation across the Northeast, except maybe for the Mid-Atlantic, closer towards Washington, D.C., closer to even the Frederick area. That's where we may get some significant ice accumulations because of those warmer temperatures in the mid-levels just around that surface low. Obviously, if the surface low goes right over Washington, D.C., we will probably watch out for some ice threats. Justin and Andrew, you guys are having some real fun in that chat, aren't you? Justin and Andrew, always up to some stuff. What's up, Wintergreen? How are you? Hey, Joshua, how are you? Oh, there's a slight risk for the Florida Panhandle. I really expected that, to be honest. I mean, there's going to be some pretty good setups. But let's look at the overall animation here on the radar. So I'm not sure if you guys can see it really well. I mean, I could go towards the Arkansas area, for example. So here's the Arkansas area. We're going to be seeing some pretty significant snowfall across the areas in the Ozarks. Again, here, if you look at the webcams on the right on my screen, this is actually Springfield on the bottom one, and this is Harrison on the top one. Harrison's like right here, and Springfield's obviously down here. So they are definitely up in the pretty significant snowfall area. And again, we do actually have a major, I believe, for snowfall somewhere over here in north central Arkansas and those higher elevations. And we're going to be seeing as this low pressure kind of sits around, I believe it's currently the surface lows down here near Mississippi. And then we have an upper level low. I believe it's in Kansas or Oklahoma. I'm not exactly sure where it is right now because, again, I've been streaming for like 30 minutes. It probably has changed location-wise. But here's a surface low. There you have kind of ahead of that cold front. And obviously, I believe there's going to be like a warm front attached with this low pressure. So that's where that rain is forming, just along that warm front. And that is why we do have some pretty warm weather across Alabama and Mississippi. I believe we have like upper 40s or even, yeah, I believe we like mid to upper 40s across the Alabama area because of that warm front. And then we have really cold temperatures attached from that cold front on that surface low pressure now. And that's exactly why we have kind of that really strong snowfall to the northwest of that low pressure. And as this low pressure does go through cyclogenesis, we are going to be really watching out for enhanced dynamic cooling and probably even enhanced divergence with the upper levels, which actually the obs are picking up on. But there's that really heavy snow. Even some snow showers could get close to the Oklahoma City area. Maybe even DFW could get a few snow showers and flurries now and there. But this low pressure is going to start moving as this upper level low kind of catches up with the lower surface low. It's going to swing the trough a little bit, which will help swing the low pressure. And with it swinging, this low pressure is actually going to be moving east-southeast instead of northeast, at least now. So we will start to see some more snow forming across Tennessee, Mississippi, and even northeast Arkansas because of that in the next few hours. So do not be surprised if you start to see some snow showers developing on the east side of the Mississippi River. But here's the overall outlook right now. So we do have a few flurries across the North Carolina area. We can just go ahead and look at that. So we do have a few flurries across northeast Georgia. Don't mind that ad. Let's just get that out of there. But yeah, here's the overall look. This is not heavy snow. There's really a few snow showers, a few flurries, and all that. This is a top-notch analysis. Thank you so much. How are you? I'm doing good. What's up, Slippy? How are you? So again, be sure to share the stream. I've not done a winter stream in a while. But let's now go ahead and get a look at the overall probability on the Weather Prediction Center. I'm going to take my time with this stream because I know a lot of you guys want some pretty detailed information here. So I'm going to take my time with this stream. But here's the overall look at let's actually do a 10th of an inch, actually. A 10th of an inch. Let's see the probability of, at 12Z the 16th, the probability of getting over a 10th of an inch. And notice that the highest probability is kind of towards that major area of ice threat. And notice how it's kind of in that similar area of 2014, like I was mentioning a few minutes ago. So that we do have, let's see here, this is a 30 to 40% chance. It's going to be just to the south of Charlotte and just north of Columbia. So between the Charlotte area, so here's Columbia, here's Charlotte. Between, right in the middle, that's where we're missing that really significant ice accumulation. So if you're going anywhere between Charlotte and Columbia in the next 24 hours, please delay that or do it like ASAP before that weather comes in overnight. And then as you go towards now 18Z, now that probability stretches a little bit more into Georgia as the mid levels do warm up. With that frontogenesis really increasing as the low pressure gets closer, that's going to really allow for some really higher warm air advection in the mid levels, 850 millibars, or the lower levels. We're getting close to mid levels, closer to 700 millibars. That's where we're going to start seeing those warm noses, and that's where we're going to start seeing that freezing rain even across the areas of Georgia. So I'm actually in this case in a 10 to 20%. But in those ice storm warnings near Hartwell Lake, we do actually have a, what is this? I believe this is a 40 to 50% chance. And then look at the probability now goes almost nearly downtown Charlotte with a, what is this, a 90 to 95% chance of greater than a 10th of an inch. Let's now check now at 0Z and see how that plays out. So then obviously the ice threat will really increase now as this warm air advection does increase. These mid-level warm noses and inversion are going to increase. So this is going to be a overall very nasty setup for ice across the Charlotte area. I mean, if you are in Charlotte, prepare for a significant ice storm. Like, please prepare now. You do not want to be on the roads any later than, I'd say, probably 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. I would not recommend that because you guys are in a 95 to 100% chance for greater than a 10th of an inch. Plus, with these very strong winds and with the added weight to the limbs, you just do not want to be on the roads with trees and limbs falling, power lines falling, losing power. I would recommend you guys go ahead and shop now for your supplies. Get extra batteries, charge your phones, get maybe some portable chargers so you guys can charge that portable charger so you don't need the actual outlets itself. Please prepare for this storm if you're in the Charlotte area, or if you're even in the North Carolinas, or if you're in the Carolinas in general, because this is not going to be a fun setup for you guys. I mean, that is a high probability. But let's now take a higher notch and go to a quarter of an inch, and that is still a very high probability of a quarter inch. That is a, what is that? Is that a 70 to 70, or no, that is 70 to 80% chance, I believe so. That's a 70 to 75, let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a 70 to 75% chance. So you still have 75% chance of getting greater than a quarter of an inch. And a quarter of an inch, I know that does not sound like a lot, but for ice, that is a very high value. It doesn't take more than a 10th of an inch to get extreme ice. And let's now look at over half an inch. And notice how the only probability, although it's very low, it's right over Charlotte. So you guys need to prepare for a significant ice threat. And that's going to be the main area to watch out for ice threats. But let's now go ahead and get a look at the overall. I guess we could do the snowfall. I guess we could look at snow. So let's now look at the overall snow forecast. So this is going to be greater chance, or the chance of getting over an inch. So notice how we're going to start getting that really heavy snow. And near Harrison. Harrison is, I believe, in a 60 to 70% chance for over an inch. And there's that map right there. I think they definitely got over their inch. Springfield also, let's see what Springfield is in. Actually, Springfield's in a really low chance. I believe they are in a 20 to 30%. It looks like they may have a trace an inch maybe already. So it looks like this storm is definitely overperforming, at least for this area. And the elevation is pretty high, again, up to nearly 2,000 in these Ozarks. So that's why we are going to be seeing a greater chance And that's what we do have a major. We have a major threat. And before we actually get into the overall forecast or the overall deep analysis, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a better look at the snowfall. Again, this is going to be Harrison, Arkansas. You can see really low visibility with this storm. The winds are going to start picking up. You can see that flag in the very bottom right of your screen. That flag is definitely it's definitely moving. Not a lot, but it is moving. But you can see the very low visibility here. There are the Ozarks in the background. There is the snowfall cover, and it looks like it's really sticking to the ground pretty fast here. So that's that. So we can go ahead and put that back in its place. We can also check out Springfield too if you guys want. So let's look at Springfield. And Springfield was only forecasted with a 20 to 30% for an inch, and it looks like they may have an inch already. It's a little too hard to tell, with the quality being a lot worse than the Harrison, Arkansas webcam or earth cam. But it looks like they do have around an inch or so. Probably maybe a little bit less. I mean, it looks like around an inch, so it looks like they are overperforming again. We still have this slow-moving low pressure kind of sitting right over them. So, again, this shouldn't be necessarily too... I mean, I wouldn't say it's overperforming. It looks like it is definitely pretty nasty. Let me fix these webcams again. There we go. That should work. Alright, so let's now go ahead and get a look here now at the western Tennessee area. Again, western Tennessee going to get a pretty high chance of significant snowfall. We go now over 2 inches. The probability is going to now really increase. Now look at the overall chance now for over 2 inches. So the probability is going to start really increasing across this area in northeast Georgia, the Carolinas. Look at the overall western North Carolina area. They have a 95% chance to 100% chance of over 2 inches, and that is really high for almost 100. We're basically guaranteeing over 2 inches. Nashville going to be at around, I believe that's 60 to 70%. And we now go to 60. The probability of getting 2 inches will also start to increase now across the Gainesville area. That's going to be around what is that, a 30 to 40% chance. Look at still a large. Now going all the way towards now at this point West Virginia. So look at that very high pocket. So notice how it's kind of in those Appalachian mountains. That's where that highest probability of snowfall is going to be. It's going to be over 2 inches. Again, I may get some stuff, but look how Atlanta gets pretty close. Although it's a very low probability, this storm could very well overperform, or it can really bust. It's going to be one of those two. But then look at that probability stretches all the way up there towards the northeast here. Really up there. Really up there. I mean, again, look at I-95 practically separating who's going to get snow and who's not going to get snow. I mean, we may have a 1% chance of over 2 inches across downtown New York. Again, who knows? This low pressure could very well change tracks. It just depends on the high pressure. But as of odds right now, it looks like it's going to pretty much stay pretty similar to models right now. Let's now look at, again, 0Z again, but let's do a 4 inches. So this is going to be the probability of getting over 4 inches. At this point, I'm actually going to be in a, 5 to 10%, something like that. That's very interesting. And then we do have now, look at that one pocket there, just to the southwest of Nashville in that 6,000 foot elevation. There's a 95 to 100% chance of over 4 inches. It's going to do 6 inches. Like the probability is obviously no longer 100% chance, but still a 80 to 90% chance there for over half a foot. And that is obviously extremely significant. For sure, very significant. But let's actually now go ahead and look at the overall models. Let's actually look at the overall observations, because we've kind of gone through a few maps already. But let's now look at the overall observations here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the overall surface map here. Let me refresh. So there's that low pressure. You can kind of see the overall elongation of the area of that baroclinic zone right there. So the low pressure, it looks like low pressure is somewhere here in southern Mississippi. It's not this one right here. That's not going to be, if it were already down there, we'd be seeing snow in like Shreveport right now, but that's obviously not the case. But you can kind of tell with this cold front. I know it's really hard to check. I know it's really hard to see like these wind orientations. I know it's really hard to see, but if you actually look at the orientation, you can see that it looks like the cold front kind of cuts off like right here. That's where you start to see these vectors looking at to the northwest, and then you have these vectors kind of looking at around the west and the southwest. So definitely kind of tell the orientation. So we're gonna be kind of seeing a stationary front here. So we're gonna start seeing it's a very slow moving or slowly changing temperatures across this area. But there's that cold front really stretching all the way up. Actually, let's at the cold front's further southward. Actually, if you look at the orientation, it gets really hard for me to see. But it's like the cold front's actually stretching down here, actually, and it does have that cold front actually drawn on the map there. But it's gonna be really hard to look at the temperatures, and we can look at the temperatures on the SPC on the SPC meso analysis, which will be a lot easier to see. But let's now look at the overall moisture convergence, and we are seeing a lot of moisture convergence across this area. Really high low convergence, which is actually going to really help with this pressure falls that we're going to be experiencing. But notice how the highest convergence is kind of there's that low pressure right here across like southern Mississippi, and there is that there's that Arkansas area really intense. Really intense snowfall with these really intense moisture convergence. If we now look at the overall pressure falls in general, actually we aren't seeing too many as of now, but as this starts to go through cyclogenesis, we're going to start seeing some more pressure falls. Actually, we had a few early this morning across, I believe it was Oklahoma and Arkansas, really early this morning. But let's now look at the overall now temperature. You can kind of get a better look at the temperatures across this area. So again, you're gonna be seeing some lower 40 or mid 40s and lower 50s across this area, just to the east of the river, and then we're gonna be seeing those 30s and 20s across the Ozarks as that cold front moved in. But let's not look at the overall 500 millibar vorticity. This is kind of an overall look at the upper level low and where it is currently. Hello, Justin. How are you doing? Hello from Erie, Pennsylvania. Hello. Well, now I'll know where to forecast for your area. So I'll get into Erie a little bit later in the video. But here's the overall. Let me move this. There we go. Here's the overall look at the low pressure. As you can kind of tell, there we have that really strong. There we have this really strong kind of upper level convergence coming in, and then we have that lower level convergence and kind of that really that neutral zone, and then you have the upper left entrance or upper left exit, and that's going to be seeing that really strong upper level divergence. That's kind of what we're going to be seeing here across this system. You're going to be seeing some pretty strong upper level divergence, and that's going to really help kind of amplify the lift of the storm, and it's going to really overall allow for pressure fall. So there's that upper level low as of now, at least the latest current run, and then the actual surface low is down here. So as this upper level low does kind of catch up, that's going to allow for this kind of trough to swing a little bit, and that's why it probably will stay pretty far south, and then it swings pretty back far up. But the overall location and track of this low pressure is definitely a little bit uncertain as of now. But there's that. But we can also look at the overall. We can also look here at the wrap meso analysis, which can give us a better idea. So let's look at the over 850 millibar temperature analysis or temperature advection, and this is actually going to be really helpful to give us an idea on how this setup is playing out right now. So we are already seeing. So there's that low pressure actually, at least right now. Let's see. Let me actually refresh. That may be a little bit older because I'm pretty sure it's in Mississippi right now. Let's see here. Wrap meso analysis. So I guess this is a slightly a little bit less updated, but at least this is actually at 19Z. So it's a little bit slightly outdated here, but there is a low pressure around southern Arkansas. The thing is, it's kind of getting really elongate. It's going to really elongate. So this low pressure could be really anywhere. It could be really later on. It's going to be really uncertain where this low pressure it's going to go. It's maybe southern Mississippi, central Mississippi. That's going to be a big factor too for Atlanta, for Huntsville, for Greensburg, Spartanburg, for Augusta, Georgia. Even for the Great Smoky Mountains, that could maybe impact maybe getting more sleet or getting absolutely no sleet. But we're going to be seeing already some pretty strong warm air advection regime at the 850 millibar. And that's going to be something that's going to be caused by photogenisis. And with that, really a strong upper air divergence, which you're going to be seeing associated with warm air advection. As well, there you see pretty much you're going to be seeing that upper level divergence associated with positive vorticity advection, which we also have, which I'll show you in a quick second. But there you see with this frontogenesis, as this actually strengthens its low pressure in this frontogenesis, and it goes through the North Georgia area and the Carolinas. The reasoning why we're going to be seeing such strong warm noses and inversions is going to be because of this warm air advection. And the reasoning why we have such a strong warm air advection regime, right now it's a little bit weak, but once it goes toward the Georgia area, it's going to really strengthen that warm air advection regime. The reasoning because of that is going to be because of the frontogenesis, and what frontogenesis is going to cause is it's going to cause this atmosphere to try to neutralize. So it's going to bring in warm air advection and that area of colder air. It's going to bring in colder advection in this area of warmer air. And we're not seeing that necessarily right now just yet because, again, we do have kind of that steep cold front right here. So this would make it to have colder advection. But once we actually start to see a stronger frontogenesis is when we start to see that neutralization phase, at least trying to neutralize the atmosphere. But let's now look at the overall 500 millibar vorticity advection. Again, that's what I'm talking about. You're going to be seeing this positive vorticity advection to the really across the upper left exit area, and then you're going to be seeing kind of negative vorticity advection. So NVA right here, PVA right here. And what this PVA is going to cause upper level divergence, and that's going to really allow for a strong lift. And then you're going to be seeing that NVA across this area, and that's going to cause convergence with the higher area or higher air. Notice how we're starting to see as this low pressure, there we have a closed low pressure or a closed system. It's going to allow for that PVA to continue to move east south or east northeastward, and that's why we're seeing these these strong storms developing along this line. North Georgia Monday early morning looks like the storm will pick up speed as it heads north from there, and the reason for that is because that upper level low is going to start strengthening, and at that point going to be really caught up with the low pressure, which will help really help the speed of that system really increase here. But again, be sure to share this stream with friends and family, guys. I'm probably going to be streaming for probably another good 30 to 40 minutes, so be sure again to share this stream with friends and family that may or not be affected by this system. Again, this is a tough forecast, so maybe if they're close to this system, I'd also recommend sharing this stream because, again, a lot's going to happen with this system. It's really pretty uncertain, but overall the odds right now are pretty much favoring a pretty significant ice setup, especially if you now go to the Weather Prediction Center fronts. If you go actually the surface analysis, there you see, or actually let me go to the fronts, a future forecast. You're going to be seeing that warm front 6Z. There you see that warm front developing to the south, and then you're going to be seeing that occluded front and that cold front. And then you're going to be seeing that high pressure to the northeast, which is actually going to cause a CAD. For people who don't know what CAD is, it's basically the advection of colder air. Actually, instead of coming from the northwest, it comes from the northeast. So this is why we're going to be seeing such a high pocket gradient of snow and temperatures in North Carolina, Northeast Georgia, and western South Carolina compared towards Atlanta and those other lower elevations and areas even in the highest elevation in Tennessee. So that's actually why this system is going to be pretty odd. But again, as we go now to 12Z tomorrow, there's that warm front to the south. So that's just going to cause a typical ice setup with that warm front to the south. I mean, it's common sense with the warm front to the south. You're probably going to be seeing a pretty good icing threat. And then as this low pressure does push off, it's going to cause some more ice for Virginia, eventually the mid-Atlantic. And then once this actually low pressure moves pretty much to the east, it will help allow for that backslide that brings some snow across Atlanta, Tennessee, Nashville area. And then I know it does have, there you see by 0Z again, there you see that snow across northeast Georgia because that warmer advection is going to die off and those mid-levels will finally cool off a little bit, allowing for some heavy snow to develop with this system. Let's now go ahead and get in a few models here. Before I get into that, here's the overall look at how elongated this low pressure is at the surface. It's really elongated, and this is how elongated it is. So that's why I'm saying it could be really anywhere in the next few hours. Let's say it gets down here in Mobile or up here near Tuscaloosa. That difference of 150 miles is going to really impact this from a lot. For example, If it's south near Mobile, I'd probably get maybe 3 to 5 inches, maybe even 6 inches. Well, actually, let me change that. If it's in Mobile and it goes to the future track like we expect, I'd probably get maybe 5 inches. But if it stays near Tuscaloosa and then the future track, I'd probably only get maybe 2 inches. So that's just showing you how big of a difference it is. And then if we do a bigger picture, if it's pretty far south in Mobile, Atlanta may get actually some good snow. While if it goes over Atlanta, they probably only get a few flurries or snow showers, maybe a trace. But here's the overall latest look. So definitely, and let's actually look at the overall service observations. And notice that the temperatures are really at a pretty sharp gradient here. And that's because of that frontogenesis developing. Let me actually now fix the webcams again. But notice how we are seeing kind of these vectors looking at really the east here, the southeast, while behind that cold front we have them looking at the northwest. And that can give you an overall idea where this low pressure is. It's going to be at this point around right here or so. And there's going to be that cold front kind of attached to it. So that cold front hasn't really reached the northwest Gulf of Mexico. You can see those vectors are 59 degrees actually in the Gulf of Mexico, which is pretty cold. That's what we are seeing, those really below freezing temperatures and the Ozarks, and still pretty warm air along that warm front in Mississippi and Alabama. Again, we are seeing actually those 50s, 57 near Tuscaloosa, or sorry, 57 in Montgomery, 51 near Meridian. We do actually, and then if you look at northwest Louisiana, which actually is practically getting hit by the cold front right now, it's upper 30s. It's at 37. We do actually have here 48 near the Macomb area, so there is going to be some sharp gradient differences in temperature. But look at that really. Look at it looks like it's really amplifying here near Harrison, Arkansas, that snowfall. What's my percentage to see snow in Lacey Spring, Alabama? I say the chance is definitely there. I mean, I could actually show the actual percentage based on the Weather Prediction Center. So I think it's pretty good. If isn't Lacey Springs in North Alabama somewhere? I'm pretty sure Lacey Springs is just between the Huntsville and Gaston area. So if we actually look at the probability of under an inch, over an inch, let's see here the probability. So it's probably going to stay maybe at a decent chance, probably maybe 10 to 20% chance, but I think there is a probability you guys could get higher than a 1% or higher than a 10% chance for an inch. But let's now do the overall. Let's go ahead and get the model. Let's get into the fun stuff now. I know a lot of you guys have desperately been waiting for the models because I've already been streaming for 47 minutes and I haven't gone through models yet. But let's now go ahead and get into the fun stuff and look at the models. I'm not sure why these webcams keep going out, but let's now look at the reasoning, the timing, the location, all that stuff. So let's now get a look here at the A-R. I'm not sure if this is the latest run. We can look at the 19Z. I'm pretty sure 19Z is the latest run here. It may be 20Z, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure 19Z is the latest run here. But let's wait for that to load for us here. Alright, so let's now go ahead and get into the overall look at the A-R. So there is that practically low pressure. Let me move my screen a little bit. There is that low pressure going to be down there towards lower Mississippi. And there is the next few hours that snowfall is going to continue to stay pretty much in place across the Ozark area in southern Missouri, as well western Arkansas, and as we eastern Oklahoma. And then, of course, areas along that warm front, like Mississippi, Alabama, you guys are going to start seeing that really rain. Not going to be anything too crazy. I do believe we actually have a slight risk for the Florida Panhandle with severe weather. So, again, we are going to be seeing severe weather related with this system. Let me actually get the ad out of here. Where is the ad? It's alright, but in the next few hours, again, as this low pressure now slowly starts to swing to the east-southeast, you're going to start to see the snow now pushing with it, and that's as well as this upper level low tracks to the southeast, like with this surface low. Now we're starting seeing that snow now in Louisiana, snow now in Arkansas, southern Arkansas, and watch as we start to see that CAD also be pushed by a high pressure. We're gonna start seeing some more snow across these areas, or actually these areas. So really watch out in the next few hours in the HBR run for that area there. But again, there's that snow. Little Rock starts to get some snow next few hours. Even the Monroe area in Alabama could get or not Alabama, Monroe, Louisiana could get some snow. And there's that 540 line right here. You kind of see how it how it dips. It really dips, and that's because of that cold front we're seeing with that surface low in Mississippi here. And again, here, speaking of Arkansas, there's Arkansas right here in this upper camera right here. It's going to load in a few seconds. There's Harrison. That's right here. So that's how heavy that snow is right now. And then if we go towards Springfield right now, Springfield, the snow is lighting up a little bit, but they're going to start to clear out a little bit as this low pressure moves to the south. And then as we now get to the next few hours, oops, that's a little early sneak peek, but as we now go towards now 0Z, 1Z, and 3Z, as this moisture finally meets the cold air. So here's that CAD right here. You're going to be seeing kind of just above freezing temperatures here. We're talking maybe 34, 35, maybe 33, maybe just at freezing, while the surrounding areas are probably going to be right here in the surrounding areas are probably going to be in the 40s or upper 30s. So this is going to be the CAD area, and that's why we're starting to see some snow developing. So that cold air from the northeast comes in, and that's exactly why the snow blows up across North Georgia. And again, I'm in Hall County, so actually this latest ARRR run would be absolutely beautiful for this setup. And the reasoning why they have it like this is because the low pressure is actually pretty far south. It's not as far south as yesterday, at least I don't think so, but there is 1,002 millibars in Alabama. South central Alabama, there's that snow now finally developing across Tennessee. There's a really, actually, it looks like the ARRR is kind of very similar towards the European resolution, as it has not as much ice developing just yet. But watch how that 540 line starts to really push southward. But look at that 540 line, it's kind of in between, or it's kind of circling an area. So here's a 540 line. So notice how like it just completely misses Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi. That's because they're going to be in a pretty warm environment, obviously. But watch as we finally go into now the mid-morning, as this low pressure nears the area and as it steepens through frontogenesis, you're going to start seeing more ice developing here. So there you see that sleet in the purple, and there you see that freezing rain in that pinkish color there. So you're going to start seeing that ice becoming a bigger threat in the mid-morning, because this low pressure is obviously going to bring in that warmer advection to the east of it. So that's why you only see like nice and really good snow developing when that low pressure is all the way over there in Alabama. And the reasoning why we're not seeing anything over here in Atlanta or western Alabama is because that's just really warm. Like that's like 40s and really ugly temperatures. So there's nothing to cause freezing rain for. But these areas that are around 34, 33, that is something that's going to cause that snow and freezing rain to develop. But Nashville, you guys are probably going to get some decent snow developing now. But look at that low pressure, 999 millibars. And look where it is. It's pretty far south. It actually stays south of Atlanta. So that would really favor areas of the Great Smoky Mountains, and as well as southeast Appalachian. Look at areas like Greensburg, Spartanburg. Look at areas like Asheville. Look at northeast Georgia. Look at even the South Virginia area. You guys are going to get absolutely obliterated by the snowfall. But look at the areas near Charlotte, near eastern Georgia, and those ice storm mornings right here. As that warm advection and as that low pressure steepens, you guys are not going to want that, because that's just going to increase your sleep by a lot. And then eventually, this 540 line will start to close in. This now freezing line is kind of towards now eastern Tennessee or western Tennessee. So at this point, it's going to be just above freezing across Asheville, Huntsville, and that general area. So that's where we'll start to see some more snow developing. But Huntsville in northern Alabama isn't in the best area, but I believe they are under a winter weather advisory. And then it stops right here at 999. But I would say this is a pretty significant southern shift here. And before I actually show you guys the Carolinas, I want to go back to the 18Z so you guys can actually get a look at the whole storm. Since practically 48 hours is the whole range of the storm, at least the majority of it. And it includes practically almost all MLK. Doesn't look like we have any new questions right now. Doesn't look like we have any new questions right now just yet. Oh my gosh, it keeps going. Why does it keep? Oh my gosh, it keeps. I don't know why these Earth camps keep going out. Alright, here comes the ARRR. So let's go ahead and get a look at that. Alright, so let's look at the 18Z HRR. Look at that snow. It's really dying off in Springfield, but it's actually just getting amplified in the Harrison area. But let's now look at the overall latest 18Z HRR. So it's very similar. However, look at the difference. It's very similar, but notice how the 18Z compared to the 19Z, it has a lot more ice early on across this area. Look at 10Z. It's a lot more widespread. And notice how we are going to be seeing as well, we're going to be seeing this low pressure slightly further south, just slightly further south compared to the 19Z or compared to the 19D. But there's that really heavy snow developing early morning right over me again. I like right over here. So I'm gonna get some good snow, at least for the morning hours. But you know who's not gonna get anything too good? These areas in the ice storm warnings. That's where we're gonna be seeing those warm noses. And not just warm noses, but it's just going to be above freezing here. I mean, let's just look at an example at 11Z. Let's look at a sounding here. Alright, 11Z. Let's see what you have for us. So again, it's just going to be that inversion there, that warmer advection. And I can show you guys the warmer advection actually a little bit later on here. But that's why this ice is getting so bad across this area. And then look at the north trend here. Look at this low pressure is a lot more north than the 19Z and the 18Z run. So it looks like there is a south trend. And then as this low pressure pushes to the north, it's going to bring in that ice threat across Virginia, Maryland, and it's going to cause, just for some backyard, hand snowfall across Georgia, Alabama. And with that, there's not going to be any warmer advection because it's going to stay pretty far south. But let's now look at a sounding here near like White County, Georgia. Let's see what's going on there in the early morning hours. So look, it's 32 degrees. There's not really any inversion. That's a really good sounding. It's pretty saturated all the way up. So look at now that freeze and now that sleet. Now we have a little bit. It's not really an inversion threat. It's kind of more the temperatures in general. The surface 34 degrees. Yeah, that ASH bar one's looking pretty good. And then there you see that really crazy sleet going on, freezing rain. This is why we have a crippling ice threat across this area. Extreme ice threat across central and northern South Carolina, the south central portion there of North Carolina. And then that's exactly what's going to happen there. But let's not look at the overall warm air advection. Let me actually now switch camera, or not switch camera, but switch regions, so you guys can get an overall look at the mid-Atlantic as well. And again, I see like there's like 25 people here. Again, if you guys have any questions on the snowstorm, whether you're impacted or not, please ask questions, because again, I love answering questions. And who knows, I may even live stream the effects I get here. But let's not look at the overall look here. So look how far south this ice gets. It gets pretty close to Jacksonville. That's why we actually have a winter weather advisory on the coast here. And before we actually go further into information wise, I want to show you guys the National Weather Service again. For those who are just joining, for those who are first joining the stream, here's the latest National Weather Service forecast. Again, we do have windstorm warnings. We now have warnings, I believe, in Tennessee here. I don't think those were there before, actually. I don't think those were there before. Yeah, they just added a winter storm warning for Tennessee, including Nashville. So that's new. They just added a warning there for Nashville. So Nashville is now under a winter storm warning. I don't think anything else other different has happened. I think they also, I'm not sure those warnings were there before in Mississippi either. Or I don't think they were that widespread here. So here's the latest update. So we do now have a windstorm warning for now northeast Alabama. We also now have, let's see here, I believe that's really it, the difference. I don't think anything else has happened. These winter weather advisories are now also across Pennsylvania. So we now have winter weather advisories for the Richmond area. We now have winter weather advisories for portions of Annapolis. We now have winter weather advisories across eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. So there actually were some significant differences in the past National Weather Service update. And I think we're going to get another one at around 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern time. Let's go back here to the HRR run. So let's look at the warm noses here. Let's see how significant that warm nose is. So let's now go towards around 13Z, there you see that really significant low pressure. And there isn't any large. We're going to be seeing such a widespread freezing rain is because of this warm inversion. We're going to have the temperatures at the surface. Look at that. 28 degrees at surface. Why are we not getting snow? Because of that warm air advection, that strong inversion, at around really from, I'd say, 950 millibars to 850 millibars. So it's going to be that dendrite growth zone, or DGZ, is going to be pretty warm. It's going to be very moist, but it's also going to be very, very warm. Same thing going on here near north of Atlanta, and then metro Atlanta area. It looks like, yeah, there you have 30 degrees, but look at that inversion. It goes to 10, almost as high as 10 degrees Celsius at 850 millibars. Really, really warm surface temperatures. Or sorry, very warm mid-level surface temperatures. And look at this low pressure now goes over Georgia, and this is the 18Z, or actually, yeah, this is the 18Z. The 19Z is actually a little bit different with the low pressure track, but we will wait, I guess, for the 0Z to come in. But yeah, here's the latest look, and that 996 millibars. So now, as you see this warm front kind of attached like this, the very far south like that, and then you have that very steep cold front. This is going to bring in that snow now across Virginia, so we start to see that snow really amplifying across Virginia later tomorrow afternoon, or actually tomorrow really early afternoon at this point, or even mid to late morning, just depending on the location, that low pressure. And then it's going to look promising. It's going to look very promising for areas like Baltimore, Alexandria, Virginia. It's going to look very, very promising for the Mid-Atlantic. But watch, as this low pressure comes closer and closer, it goes further west, and it goes straight over these areas. So that's now going to cause rain and above freezing temperature. So let's now look again. Look at Baltimore at 23Z. You're going to be seeing, look at that. Really, this is a perfect snow sounding. 30 degrees. Very slight. I mean, there's basically no inversion, really. That's just because of that warm advection, but it's not really an inversion necessarily. That's actually a really good sounding there. Also really, really saturated. But watch as this low pressure gets closer and it goes further westward. That's going to cause that warm front to go towards you guys. And now look what temperature you're at. Now you're at 33 degrees. Okay, not too bad. Now, let's go now at 3Z in DC. Now you're at 35 degrees. Let's now go at 4Z. Now you're at 39 degrees. So it's going to be very promising in the beginning, but it's just going to get absolutely wiped out by this warm front here. Same thing in New York City. New York City, the reasoning why you guys do have a chance for snowfall in general with the 1% is because at the very beginning, look at that 28 degrees, very little inversion really. That's fine. Continue maybe at what? Let's see. What was this? This is at 1Z, 30 degrees. Same thing, snow. Okay, what could go wrong? Now as low pressure goes west, else goes west, or no, else goes east now because of that the warm front. Now you're at 39 degrees, so you go from 30 to 39. You're going from 30 to 39 in just a few hours in New York. But it looks really, really good, at least I'd say, for the inland northeast area. I mean, look at Ohio. Ohio has not really been talked about a lot, but look at that. Ohio is going to get really good snow here. I mean, really good snow. The eastern half, at least. Columbus may just miss out, so if you're in Columbus, you may just miss out a little bit. Cleveland looks pretty good, but look at that. This is not looking too good for the coastal areas. But, I mean, it looks really good for areas in northeast Pennsylvania. You guys look really good. 25 degrees. There's a slight inversion, but, again, it's 25 degrees. Let's not look at the areas. I mean, northwest New Jersey doesn't look too bad. I mean, they're obviously going to get rain to wash out the snowfall a bit later. I mean, look at that. Let's see here. At 9Z on MLK Day, you guys are at 33 degrees. While when you're getting the snow, you're at, let's see here. You go from 27 to 33. So you're still getting impacted by that warm front, but it's not as significant as New York, because New York goes to almost 40 degrees. I mean, that is definitely not good for snowfall. So that's going to really impact this storm's gonna really impact the coastal areas a lot here. I mean, if you're in Richmond, Washington D.C., Baltimore, I'd really be upset if I were you two guys. If I were you guys too. So let's look at the overall warmer advection, or the overall temperature advection at 850 millibars. This is gonna explain everything really well. What are you thinking for Albertville, Alabama? I'm actually not 100% sure where Albertville is right now, so give me a quick second here. So while I play this, let's see here. So while I GIF this, let me go ahead and look where Albertville is real quick. Let's see where I think Albertville is in North Alabama, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me look at really quickly here. Albertville, Alabama. I'm pretty sure it's North Alabama. Okay, yeah, you're in Northeast Alabama. So yeah, Albertville you probably will get. I'm pretty sure Albertville is in a winter weather advisory right now. I think you will probably get probably an inch or two. Again, it really depends. If that low pressure goes up the ARRR, let me show you guys. Let me go back to the composite reflectivity real quickly. So let's look at Albertville. So if you're in Albertville, the low pressure is pretty far south, like maybe closer to Jackson. You're probably gonna get some really good snowfall. Look at that Albertville. You guys may get anywhere from maybe a trace to maybe 4 inches. And in general, I think Albertville will probably get an inch to 3 inches, just based on the inconsistency of the models. But based on observations, it looks pretty, I say, okay for snow in Albertville. I say it's pretty okay. And I do apologize, I actually have a stuffy nose right now, so in case I do like sniffle, that's just because of the cold air. I did have tennis lessons in the really cold air this morning. It's always cold the morning before the snowstorm. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes I can just feel the snow. Even though it's not happening, it's going to happen in 24 hours, I can just feel it. I can feel it in the clouds. But let's go back to the warmer advection here. But if anyone new is joining the stream, I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel. I'm actually at, 6,192. I'm trying to get to 6,200. So I would really recommend you guys subscribe to the channel. I've gained a subscriber so far in the stream. So again, if you are new, or you guys want to get updated within the storm and what it's going to do, I really would recommend you guys do. But look how the conditions are really clearing across Springfield, Missouri as this low pressure moves south. But let's now look at the overall temperature advection here and why we're seeing these warm noses. So obviously you're going to be seeing that strongest warm air advection really close to the east of that low pressure. So we're not going to be having a problem. That's why really at 3Z, you're already getting snow northeast Georgia. And by 6Z, the snow's all the way across like northeast metro Atlanta. And I do think the Weather Channel, I do think AccuWeather, I think all these big weather companies are sleeping on this event. I generally do think they are sleeping on the event. I don't really think they're picking up the trend in the south trend of the low pressure. I'm not really sure they are picking up on that, to be honest. I really don't think they are. I mean, they kind of, I looked at the forecast. They have like a few areas. They have a few areas that are in the windstorm warning. For example, they only have them like at like 1 to 3 inches, and I mean it's definitely looking pretty good for these areas in the windstorm warning. But I don't think they're picking up on these trends really. And I think they're really only looking at the limiting factors like the warmer advection, which obviously you want to look at, but there's a lot more than just the warmer advection. But let's go ahead and look at the warmer advection forecast. So there's that warmer advection across Alabama. That's why you're seeing these really warm temperatures near Birmingham and all that area. That general area. We now look further now to 12Z. That's where this warmer advection really increases as that low pressure is now currently over Alabama. So that's why by 12Z you're now getting a ton, and I mean a ton of ice across this area. So that's why that snow's going to go from ice instead of ice going to snow. So let's just look at a random sounding in South Carolina. There's that inversion there, 29 degrees, but it goes up to around 7 degrees Celsius at 850 millibars, which is only 1 kilometer up. So it's still in the lower levels. And I find it funny because I'm not sure if you guys know about Friday, but Friday had the chance for a pretty significant snowstorm. It's been decently consistent. But it's funny because actually I was just looking, and it looks like they're already forecasting like 1 to 3 inches for my area, so that's just funny. They just now upgraded a winter weather advisory to a winter weather warning in some counties in Georgia. So I'm guessing they did another update here. And who exactly have they added? I haven't seen anyone new added just yet. These are, unless it's not updating for me just yet. I know we do have winter weather advisories are stretching further west, actually. I do believe we have winter weather advisories all across western Georgia now, including Kennesaw, Alpharetta, and Rome, Georgia. But yeah, we do now have a high wind warning now for my area too. There's actually been a high wind warning issued for Georgia as well. So it's just coming in right now, actually. It's probably going to come up in a few seconds here, but we do have a high wind warning now for north and just northern Georgia in general. And we do now have an expansion of this winter weather advisory. As of now, this winter weather advisory now includes much of western Georgia. So if you are just joining the stream right now, we actually have a pretty significant update. Also, we no longer have a hole for Tennessee. They are now under a winter weather advisory. So we are having some more significant updates actually with the National Weather Service. So there's a high wind warning. So there's a high wind warning right there. So high wind warnings have now been issued for much of northern Georgia. And this is where we're seeing very, very nasty traveling conditions. I would not recommend you guys travel whatsoever ahead of the storm here. We're going to be seeing very strong winds because of this very strong low pressure. So, yeah, here's the overall look at Georgia. Again, they just got a new update. Winter weather advisories are now across all western Georgia, or at least all northwestern Georgia, including Rome, Carrollton. So this is the latest update here as of now. And then there you have these ice storm warnings. And then we do have a new update here for western Tennessee. Again, we now have Knoxville is now under a winter weather advisory. Dalton, Georgia is now under a winter weather advisory. And then we do have a special weather statement in those areas near Chattanooga in that little hole there that's actually going to be above freezing for the majority of the time. So yeah, that's the latest update right now. So that is a pretty significant update. So that's why I'm glad I've been streaming for a while here. And again, there's also another update that happened a few minutes ago that we now have a windstorm warning just outside Allentown and the Poconos in Pennsylvania here. But I'm actually now in a wind warning, high wind warning, and a windstorm warning. So it's not looking too good for my area. What's next? An ice storm warning? I don't think that's gonna happen though. At least I hope it doesn't happen. But let's now go ahead and get a look here at the NAM 3 kilometers. So far we've been looking at the A-R and soundings on the A-R. But now let's get a look here at the NAM 3 kilometer. Obviously, the NAM 3 kilometer is obviously isn't as I'd say. I don't know. I think the A-R is a little bit more accurate at least. But yeah, we do it now. Let's go ahead and look now at the overall NAM 3 kilometers. So there's that snowfall really sitting across western Missouri. And consider this is the 12Z NAM 3 kilometers, so it is slightly behind. Let's look at the model here. The NAM 3 kilometer. Actually, the NAM 3 kilometer 18Z just came in. Let's look at that. So the 18Z is now in, so thankfully I checked. So let's now look at the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer. This will be the first time I look at the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer. So you guys are about to see that for the first time with me. Or I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna say that the first time with you guys. But again, it's looking pretty looking pretty good on the A-R 18Z. So let's see how good it is for the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer. So let's now look at the 18Z 3 kilometers. So there you see that snowfall again across the Ozarks and as well now developing across the Appalachian Mountains. Let's see that low pressure placement. So low pressure obviously is actually very, very far north. And it goes up towards the Columbus area. I believe Columbus is on the eastern side actually. Never mind. It's closer towards south of Memphis there. And look how it swings far south. And this is going to allow for that snowfall to now enter portions of northern Texas, including Texarkana, as well enter areas near Shreveport, Louisiana. So that snowfall is now picking up a little bit more across Springfield. I'm not in any wind warning. Yeah, you're in Toccoa, so I think Toccoa is still under that wind advisory, I believe so. So let me actually look at that high wind warning description here. I actually want to really see that wording. So I'll get back to the NAM 3 kilometer. I just really want to hear that wording here. So let's see what that wording has. High wind warning in effect from midnight to noon Eastern Sunday. Sustained winds of 20 to 35 miles an hour with gusts up to 50 expected within the higher elevations, or higher gusts at the 60 mile an hour possible in those higher elevations in the north of Georgia. The impacts would be damaging wind will blow down trees and power lines. Widespread power outages are expected. Travel will be very difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. Shadow said there is no tsunami warning. There's a tsunami warning in Japan. There's tsunami advisories across the west coast. But there is a tsunami warning, I believe, for Japan right now. Here's the overall timing for Georgia. At least, so if I know I have a lot of Georgia viewers. Here's the overall timing for Georgia, though. Saturday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. So this wintry mix could begin as early as a few hours. And then Metro Atlanta, it's going to be closer towards that morning hour. Let's now see the timing here for Nashville. I'm not sure that's going to give us a... So, again, here's Nashville. Snowfall forecast, 3 to 4 inches. Tonight, you're going to be seeing that rain, but later tomorrow, you're going to see that snow showers. So, could see a few inches there for the Nashville area. Let's go back to the NAM 3 kilometer 18Z again. This is my first time seeing the 18Z with you guys. And it looks like it really has a more of an ice bias here, or at least an ice... So it looks like the CAD isn't as significant as it is with the HRR, so it has that ice really going on crazy across the Carolinas. Really significant ice there with that warm air advection regime. And the reasoning, I think, is because it does have this low pressure further northward compared towards the HRR. And there it is finally arriving. And that's going to bring in that heavy snow showers across Georgia and across Tennessee, of course. And it looks pretty good for Albertville, to say the least. I mean, you guys could probably get some good snow. The thing is, when will that rain turn to snow? Because, again, you guys will be in a really warm environment in Albertville for much of the day. And the ETC really brings in that snow actually closer to Columbus. So it looks like the NAM 3 kilometer also takes us further westward, too, which is why it probably has so much ice for Asheville. Because if you look at the HRR, it doesn't have as much ice there, but... That is definitely a very interesting 18Z model run. I think that the NAM 3 kilometer has been kind of really very similar towards the GFS when it comes to the ice. But the HBR is more similar to the European. But I think the GFS is also becoming more similar towards the I think that oh my gosh, the GFS is now becoming a little bit less involved with the ice. So I think that the NAM 3 kilometer is becoming an outlier. I do think the NAM 3 kilometer is an outlier based on the low pressure location. Because if you look at, let's see, do I even have the GFS popped up? Let's see. Let me look at the GFS. So here's the GFS. I know I have it. So let's wait here for this ad to go away. Okay. So this is the GFS. So this is the latest run. This is the 18Z run. So it is definitely a lot less involved in the ice. I'd say the least compared to the past runs. I'm talking about past GFS runs. It still has a ton of ice, but it isn't as involved. Because if you look at the past runs yesterday, the GFS, it had ice everywhere across Georgia, everywhere across North Carolina. But now, it kind of really mainly has it across those South Carolina, North Carolina areas. While the NAM 3 kilometer has it practically everywhere and practically non-stop. So I'm really not sure about the NAM 3 kilometer. I think it could very well be an outlier. We will see how it plays out, though. Again, let's now go look at the other regional map. Alright, well, let's see here. I'm actually really concerned, now that I think about it, that I'm in a high wind warning. I think that thought process just got to me. I'm in a high wind warning and a windstorm warning. What else? What else could I ask for? I mean, looks like the winter is finally arriving here. Let's see here. So yeah, I'm in a high wind warning and a winter storm warning. That is That is fun. That is real fun. That's sarcasm, by the way. That's never gonna be fun. I mean, I do have a generator, so that will be well needed. But again, if you are in the high wind warning, if you are in the wind advisory, please have extra supplies. I mean, that is gonna be critical. That's gonna be critical for just this storm in general. Please go out to stores now. Please go out to stores now. Because personally, I just went to Publix a few hours ago, right before the stream, and there was no water, there was no bread, there was no milk, there was nothing. And I bet fire was gone. I actually went to Ace Hardware like Thursday. There was no snow shovels, at least in my area. So please take shelter. Please not take shelter, but please get ready. Have extra flashlights. Have extra batteries. Charge your phones. Everything, because with the high wind warnings now being an issue, we are talking about gusts up to 50 miles an hour here, and we can look at the overall gusts on the A-R actually. Let's look at the A-R wind gusts here now. Before I get into the 3 kilometer, because obviously the A-R ran sooner, but actually I wonder if the 19Z would actually we'll do the 19Z since we're looking at the southeast mainly. So let's look at the latest run here. Surface, let's do 10-meter wind. I mean, actually we could go to weather models. Actually, I think weather models or weather belt would be better. Let's do weather belt. Actually, I feel like weather belt would work better when it comes to the wind gusts, because we can look at it a little bit better. So let's look at the A-R 3 kilometer. Oh, looks like I need to sign in. I wonder if it's gonna work. There we go. Oh, that worked. So let's now look at the regions here. Let's look at the maybe southern Appalachians. There we go. So look at the overall wind gusts here. So surface winds. There we go. 10-meter wind gusts. So this is right now. So see how these winds are going to really start amplifying. Well, this is 20Z. We don't want that. We want 19Z. There we go. So notice how these winds are already going to get pretty strong just tonight at 8 o'clock here. So seeing some wind gusts at the 30s across the Tennessee area near that low pressure. But as the low pressure steepens, these wind gusts are going to start really steepening as well, or strengthening. Look at that. Look at the visibility here across the areas of here Harrison. That's really not. That's looking pretty nasty out there. Oh, let's fix that. There we go, extreme weather. You are now a mod. I didn't realize you guys weren't mod. 60-mile wind gust. No. Where's the blizzard warning? Well, it doesn't necessarily work like that every time. You also need to consider the there's 2 criteria for windstorm warning. Oh, you have to have very heavy snow for at least 3 hours. Again, it's not just about the winds and the snow being there. It also has to last for a consistent 3 hours or more, which in this case we don't exactly know whether it will last 30 hours or more. Also, the visibility has to be less than a quarter mile for 3 hours or more. So you have to consider that 3 hour time frame. We would have blizzard warnings almost every single significant storm, but it has to last 3 hours or more. So there you go, extreme weather. Okay, so I'll start getting some new cameras, and if I stream long enough, I'm probably gonna end the stream at around 4:30. But let's go ahead and look at the overall wind gusts. So notice how these wind gusts really amplify. Now this is 3 in the morning. Look at these wind gusts, the 50 miles an hour across Alabama. The higher elevations in Georgia are gonna get nearly 55 miles an hour. And we're going to be seeing some gusts at the 30 to 25 miles an hour to the far east. But as we now go into the... Oh boy, that is not looking good. Let's go to... Wow, that is not looking good at all. Let's now look at the... Look at some states here. Let's look at Georgia. That is not looking good at all. Oh guys, this is going to be fun for me. This is going to be real fun for me. 56 mile an hour wind gusts over me at 3... Where's this? What is the time? Is this like at 4 in the morning? This is at 7 in the morning here. And at 7 in the morning, I'm getting snow, not sleet. Oh my gosh. 61 mile an hour wind gust over me. That is... Oh my gosh. That's the A-R though. Let's look at the 3 kilometer. Let me actually copy that image. That's not looking good at all. That is really not good if the HFR verifies. Oh my god. 61 mile an hour. And that, look at that, nearly 70 across the highest elevation in northwest Georgia. But let's now look at the NAM 3 kilometer. Actually, I believe we can use the HBAR 15-minute. If you go in the next 7 hours in the HBAR 15-minute, you're already getting 40s across Alabama. That does not look good at all. That does not look good at all whatsoever. 60 mile an hour wind gusts possibly. I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't think we're not gonna get a blizzard warning in Georgia with this system, but we are gonna be seeing some really nasty whiteout conditions here. Yeah, we're gonna be seeing some pretty nasty whiteout conditions across this area. 61. Wow, that's crazy. Let's now look at the NAM 3 kilometer wind gusts, and let's see if it's similar or not. Let's see again. This is the 18Z. Yeah, very similar. Look at that. 60, 61, 63 across Metro Atlanta. Look at Look at Eastern Alabama. Eastern Alabama. Look at that. Really, really intense. Even winds across Eastern Alabama. And that's why Eastern Alabama could also be seeing some really nasty conditions. I mean, look at that. Look at Harrison. It's probably going to be very similar to the conditions that we're going to be seeing across Georgia and Tennessee and the Carolinas. But yeah, look at that. 60, 45s. This is very similar to the HRR here. And again, the reasoning why we're going to be seeing such strong winds is because of cyclogenesis. This is the NAM 3 kilometer. This is pretty intense. Even towards the east or even towards west and South Carolina, you have gusts at the 50 already. 60 mile an hour is nothing. Well, 60 mile an hour with snow in Georgia in the deep south is not necessarily too common. So, but yeah, I mean, this is gonna be some pretty nasty conditions here, and this is gonna continue across the northeast here. Let's now look at the northeast. Let's now go to the northeast here. We can't forget about them. There we go. So again, the northeast is also going to get some pretty strong winds, but we can't use the HBAR. We have to use the NAM 3 kilometer, unless we use the 18Z HBAR. So again, the HBAR 18Z would actually help us get through the whole storm, mainly. So let's look at 10 meter wind gusts. There we go. So again, these winds are going to stay pretty calm today across the northeast, but once we go towards later tomorrow morning, MLK Day, it's going to really amplify the winds a lot across the northeast. So there's gonna be seeing gusts at the 50 miles an hour across the New Jersey area, gusts up toward the 40s across Virginia, and then gonna be seeing a gust up towards Pennsylvania across the high elevation across the Massachusetts, Vermont area. We could very well get gusts up to 55, 60 miles an hour. But yeah, that's some pretty intense system. That's because of this overall cyclogenesis. This cyclogenesis is going to really affect this wind as well. This could also probably allow for some dynamic cooling, some pretty intense dynamic cooling as well as it goes through the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So if you're in Pennsylvania, you're probably going to get some really intense snowfall, and I mean really intense snowfall. But let's now look at the NAM 3 kilometer further into the northeast. So then gonna get that heaviest snow across upstate and even for the state itself, New York, Cleveland. Looks like it looks like the NAM 3 kilometer is having a western trend compared to the HRR, and I could say that because you can kind of see that that band there is really a lot further west compared to the NAM 3 kilometer or to the HRR, because the NAM 3 kilometer actually has it towards Columbus, Cleveland, even Cincinnati. While the HBAR kind of has a stopping towards far east near the Youngstown area. But look at that, 985 millibars. This is going to be very intense low pressure, very intense low pressure. It's probably going to go through some pretty intense cyclogenesis here. We're not going to be seeing any bomb cyclones, but we are going to be seeing some really intense cyclogenesis here. And yeah, we're going to be really watching out for extreme power outages all the way from the deep south towards the northeast here. This is going to be a pretty significant scenario. This is going to be a very significant snowstorm. Very significant for sure. I mean, we're talking maximum gust winds at the 55 to 60 across metro Atlanta, eastern Alabama, western South Carolina. You're going to really want to really get really overall look at this system if you are in the impacted area. Again, high wind warnings have been issued. You can kind of tell. I mean, look how strong that low pressure gets. 992 millibars, 908 millibars, but on the latest H-R, it gets pretty darn strong too. If we look at the if you just look at the overall 10-meter winds here, you're gonna be seeing some really strong winds. Let's see if before we get into that, let's see if we have any updates with this. With this National Weather Service. Doesn't look like anything different has happened, but let's look at the Little Rock area. Again, they're about to get impacted pretty soon here. Look at the snowfall forecast. Little Rock may get 1 to 2 inches, while those highest elevations near Harrison. Again, Harrison's this upper map right here, this upper webcam right here, while this lower one is going to be Springfield, Missouri. But we're going to be seeing as well the snowfall really increase as it goes towards the Memphis area, as this low pressure starts to go through cyclogenesis. It's not really allowed for around 3 inches, probably maybe higher than that, maybe 5 inches. Who knows? Does anyone know about Albertville, Alabama, Cussy, and how many inches? Albertville, I think I answered your question earlier, but I'm not sure if you were here. Albertville is probably going to get 1 to 3 inches of snowfall, and if it goes through an H-R, it's probably going to get even more, but it just depends on how far inside that low pressure is. But as of now, Albertville may get a few inches of snow. Maybe an inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. But yeah, see that low pressure, how strong it gets on the H-bar, already at 999 millibars. So it's probably going to bring some really strong winds across this area. Let's now go ahead and look at the actual snowfall accumulations. I haven't gone through snowfall accumulations yet. I've been surprised. We've gone through an hour and a half, and we have not gone through accumulations yet. That's my bad. Let's now look at the overall forecast as of now. Consider this does cut out practically a lot of the storm, but look how much accumulation we already have for the southeast here. That's a lot of accumulation already early on. If we maybe move the screen a little bit, look at that. Already getting 10 inches, 11 inches, almost a foot already across North Carolina. I'm pretty sure that windstorm warning... Let's see. Okay, they have now expanded this windstorm warning here, I believe so. It now includes a lot of areas, actually. It now includes the McKaysville area. I believe this is near LJ. So I think they just expanded it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just expanded the windstorm warning here. Also, the windstorm warning does include, I believe, the Winder area. I believe Winder's down here, I think. But yeah, we now have windstorm warnings further expanding here. So yeah, these windstorm warnings have now gone further west here. So yeah, I mean, a lot's happening here as we get closer to this event. So it looks like the National Weather Service is having a lot more confidence across this area in the southeast here. I mean, they now have watches in Tennessee. They in that hole. They now have windstorm warnings across Nashville. They now have warnings in northeast Alabama. They now have advisories near Atlanta, or actually in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a lot more confidence developing within the system. For example, in the very beginning of this video, these warnings in Northwest Georgia weren't here. The advisories in Atlanta weren't there. So a lot's happening here. Look, there's a lot more confidence with this storm here. And this is typically what you see in a southeast event. The confidence increases as you go. This is the overall accumulation, though. So again, it's going to get probably some really good snow across southern Tennessee, northern Mississippi. Let's actually look at the a different sector so you guys can actually see the current areas in Arkansas and Memphis. So this is going to be the forecast, at least for the next 18 hours, and the latest 19 ZHR. Going to be seeing very intense snow. Still an additional few inches across Arkansas. Could get maybe a few inches there near Little Rock. Maybe 2 inches down there near South Arkansas. You're not going to get too much across Alabama. There's probably not going to be too much going across Alabama, except for the far northern part near Albertville, Huntsville. Huntsville actually may get maybe an inch or 3 inches or so. Probably even nearly 3 to 4 inches according to Ishbar in northern Mississippi, which would make sense because the low pressure is again it's going to be going east southeast. So it's actually going to be going east southeast at low pressure, so that actually really would favor southern Tennessee and northern Mississippi here. So let's actually read the new windstorm warning for Georgia. I believe they have updated the wording because they expanded the warning itself. So windstorm warning and winter storm advisory are in effect starting tonight through Sunday night for much of northern and central Georgia. Snow accumulations 2 to 8 inches are possible, with ice accumulations up to 0.2 of an inch. High winds will be possible with wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour. Avoid unnecessary travel and continue to monitor the latest forecasts. So yeah, they really have really updated the wording here. I wonder what they have. I wonder what the companies have for my area. So, again, there is a possibility we could get blizzard warnings across some areas. There's a question. The question is, will it last the 3 hours? You need 3 hours straight of 35 minor gusts or more or a quarter visibility for straight 3 hours. The question is, will this get blizzard warnings? There is a chance, there's a possibility. There's a possibility. But I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there is still a chance for a blizzard warning in some cases. This would be very, very rare blizzard warning for these areas in probably Georgia. Again, the question is, will that snow be there for 3 hours? With that warm nose, it's going to be the question. Will that snow stay as snow and not freezing rain? That's what's going to be pretty important here. I think I've been training for over an hour and a half now. That's going to be the very important factor here. Will that snow last 3 hours straight? Let's now look at the overall. Snowfall accumulation. Guys, let me know in the comment. Let me know in the chat below if I should live stream the winter conditions. As long as I have power, I probably will. I don't want to waste my battery, obviously. If I'm going to lose power. So let me know in the chat below if you guys want me to stream tomorrow, at least if I can. Because I definitely stream the events. I would definitely stream this event if you guys want me to, or if I can. I'd say this event's uptrending, at least. I think this event is uptrending. For sure. I think this is really uptrending right now, and I expected it to uptrend. We will see how it plays out. Again, a lot of interesting things may happen between now and midnight. Looks like the majority want me to stream it, so as long as I have power, I will. I don't want to waste my battery, and then I absolutely can't use anything, including models. That would really be unfortunate, but I mean, it looks like there's could be a lot of interesting things that will play out this storm. I think a lot of interesting things. I mean, who knows? We could get a blizzard warning again. There's just uncertainty that snow will stay for 3 hours straight to cause the so-called criteria. Here's the latest NAM 3 kilometer. Actually, never mind, that's 12Z. Let's look at the 18Z. Let's look at the 18Z. Let's see how much this is uptrended or downtrended. We'll see how it goes. Well, that loads for us. I'm probably going to end the stream in a few minutes, guys, based on the fact that I need to do other stuff in the next few minutes here, but I'd say it's definitely uptrending at least. Yeah, I'd say it's uptrending this event here, and that's very, very simple. I mean, that's very expected too. I feel like this is really uptrending across this area in the southeast. I mean, these latest 18Z runs, we're now getting warnings all over the place. Really expanding. And yeah, look at look at the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer. That really uptrended now. For those who saw the sneak peek of the 12Z, this is really uptrended. For example, now it has widespread areas of over 15 inches, now getting pockets of over a foot in North Georgia. But let's go back to the 12Z. So actually the 18Z has been like at 3 to 4 inches too. While you go back to the 12Z. Let's go back to the 12Z. Look at the difference between the 12Z. The 12Z barely had any pockets of over a foot in North Georgia. And look at that, only had like a less than an inch for Atlanta. But the 18Z NAM 3 kilometer is really interesting. It has that really intense snow after the freezing rain here. Look at that. It now has, that's actually very interesting here. And look at Albertville may get 3 inches, so. That is very interesting, guys. I think I might get a good storm here. Not a good storm when it comes to the ice, but it's like a really nasty storm for the southeast here. I mean, those wind gusts are going to be at the 60 miles an hour. I mean, if this snow does stay consistent at 3 hours, we are looking at a very, very nasty storm here, for sure. I mean, we're talking 2 to 8 inches in that warning with blowing winds of 60 mile an hour gusts. There's definitely a chance we could get a blizzard warning here. There is a possibility. Again, it's not 100% sure, and it's not expected in my opinion, but there's a possibility here. Because look at that high wind warning. Look at that high wind warning directly next to the windstorm warning here. As long as that snow stays for 3 hours and you get that visibility less than a quarter mile, that would fit blizzard warning criteria. And I don't think we'll get a blizzard warning anytime until it actually happens. Because this is Georgia and the Carolinas we're talking about here. And again, look what it's bringing right now here across Arkansas. This is Arkansas. For those who watched the beginning of the stream, it was very clear. You could see the mountains behind it. Now you can barely see anything. Now you can barely see anything at all here. Maybe I will stay streaming for a little bit more here. Let's see the clouds. The clouds are looking really good outside my window here. Let's go back to the observations here. Let's see the temperatures and how they've updated so far. So let's go back to the let me get the weather prediction out. Let's go back. There we go. Let's get the current temperature. Let's refresh this. See where it's at right now. So there. Look how much it's elongated now. From northern Mississippi all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So let's go to the next 6 hours. The future forecast 6 hours there. Look how elongated that is now. So this low pressure location is going to be really, 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 really all over the place. So it's just going to be a waiting duck for this storm. If you guys are new to the channel, though, I would recommend you guys subscribe. I would really, really greatly appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel. We are 4 away from 6,200. We've gained like 5 subscribers so far this stream, so I really would recommend you guys subscribe if you are new. Let's look at the surface observations. Let's see if I remember any numbers. So I don't think they've actually updated this yet. Actually, they have. So let's see here. We now have 43. Yeah, actually, they have updated it. So we have 54 in Meridian, 47 near Columbus. We do have now these temperatures really cooling off across Arkansas now. So Little Rock is in the mid-30s here. So that should start to allow for that snowfall as this cold front continues to push eastward. And I do apologize, but I am getting questions on Discord. But again, I mean, the cold front's really pushing in. You can see this temperature gradient here. The cold front's practically around right here now. It's kind of cutting across Louisiana. We're going to start seeing these really cold temperatures now in Louisiana, because Louisiana, believe it or not, is going to get snipped from the system. Maybe a trace or so. But we are starting to get these really cold temperatures coming in. These temperatures are really coming in very quickly. So again, as of now, it looks like a pretty nasty setup, right? At least as of now, based on obs, everything looks pretty good. Let's go back to College of the page, see if we have any updates here. So let's now go back to the surface maps. Let's look here. Let's refresh this. So again, there's that cold air coming in through. There's the two high pressures. This high pressure is going to be the one producing the CAD. It's going to push in that really cold air from the northeast, actually. Look how nasty that setup is across Arkansas. That's a really nasty setup. But let's look at the overall surface front. So there's the overall surface front. There you see that stationary front, that cold front, and the warm front will eventually develop later on. But moisture convergence, notice how it's now kind of really staying across Mississippi. So the moisture convergence is decreasing a little bit. Actually, looks more like a glitch. It does look like a glitch based on the fact that it just completely drops. Let's now look at the 500 millibar here. Let's see that 500 millibar trough. And this is actually this is at the 500 millibar jet analysis. So again, there's that low pressure, the upper level low. That upper level low is really I'd say it's starting to catch up here. It's now pushing in at 500 millibars towards Texas. That surface low closer to Mississippi. Let's see here. Let's actually want to see that temperature advection here. If this loads for us, there we go. Let's see the 850 millibar temperature analysis or advection analysis, vorticity advection at 500 millibars. So there you see that really strong positive PVA right here, positive vorticity advection. That is a line for extreme divergence with height. So that is a really good thing to see on the observations here. And there you see that negative or the NVA behind that on the converging side, or sorry, yeah, the converging side right here, and then the upper left exit, you're starting to see that divergence. Let's now get a look here at the temperature advection. Let's see, since it looks like that temperature advection is starting to become slightly more easterly, or at least more widespread. It looks like my temperature is dropping. According to my weather station, it's dropped a degree in the past hour. I don't know, guys. It's going to be a fun storm here. I think it's going to be a really interesting storm. It's a fun storm because how uncertain it is. But again, there's a lot of stuff that's not fun about this storm. And that's going to be the ice. The ice is going to be an absolutely just nasty threat. Again, those ice storm warnings across South Carolina. Let's look at that. There's ice storm warnings there. It's really some bad quality though, actually. But This is the setup right here now. The National Weather Service though. Again, we have high wind warnings. I think we have again a winter weather advisory up here for northern Georgia, at least northwest Georgia. I'm under a windstorm warning and a high wind warning, so it is definitely not. That's definitely not the best thing you want, to say the least. But it looks like it's really uptrending this system. It really does, guys. It looks like a nasty setup for a lot of the southeast here. Obviously, that was clearly going to happen, but it's hard uptrending a lot, which is pretty concerning here because not a lot of people had the time to really prepare for this because the models are going crazy with this snowfall now. Again, this always happens every single time with the southeast system that the temperatures are colder than expected here. Again, I believe, let's actually get a temperature map here, or look at the temperatures. Let's actually look at the temperatures here. Oops, oh, I just closed it. Let's go back to the SBC. Again, we have a slight risk there across Florida, by the way. Let's go back to meso analysis. Let's now, let's do this purple region right here. So here's the overall temperatures. They're a lot colder than expected. For example, I'm at 43, 46 in Atlanta. Already seeing upper 30s across North Carolina. We're trying to see these cold temperatures, but notice how you have 50s across Alabama. That's where you have that warm front coming in. Again, that warm front's going to be moving into Alabama. That's where you see that convection developing there. But yeah, there's that really nice temperatures actually. Let me do that real quickly. There we go. So again, these temperatures are really starting to outperform here when it comes to the cold side. The temperatures are getting really cold though. And I believe we have never seen a blizzard warning in northeast Georgia except for the border with South Carolina. So this would be a historic event if there were to be windstorm warnings or blizzard warnings issued. Again, these temperatures are really getting cold, like really cold. That's what I'm saying. That's when it comes to southeast storms models. The Weather Channel, AccuWeather, they just love underpredicting it, and that's why storms quote unquote uptrend when they're really just acting like they're supposed to. So that is just crazy. Again, temperatures are a lot colder than expected. The highs we're supposed to get I think the highs were supposed to get to 47 here, 48 here, 40, something like that, but it's only 43 here, and it's supposedly going to start getting colder. So that would actually allow for a lot more snow. And with that CAD, these temperatures would be a lot colder. But something that would be very interesting, guys, is if there's a blizzard warning issued. Because notice how we have potential for gusts up to 60 miles an hour. All you need is a gust up to 35. Plus visibility to be a lot lower than a quarter mile. But yeah, guys, I'm probably going to end the stream here. I've already been streaming for about 2 hours now. And I'm going to have to do stuff. Obviously, I have to do a lot of stuff. Forecast myself. Eat dinner. Look at the wild card games at football. Maybe I will stream again at some point later tonight. You guys let me know. If you guys want to stream later tonight, I will. I may or may not stream tomorrow's event on my phone, but I'm not going to make a video tomorrow because I may not even have power. But if I don't have power, guys, who knows when the last time you will hear from me again. I'm just joking, but I'm probably going to... We'll see how it goes, though. But Hope you guys. Oops, I have a question. Do you think that Warm Nose will set up closer to the NAM and GFS shows, or closer to what the HFR and RAP shows? If I'm being completely honest, based on what I'm seeing right now with this low pressure placement, I think it's going to be more towards the HRRR and the GFS. Because notice that the GFS has been very, 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 really stubborn with trying to get a south trend, but now they are. Also, with the current observations, with this upper level low catching up with it, if I can pull it up, let me pull it up real quick. Upper air maps, there we go. So with this upper level, oh my gosh, with this upper level low catching up, I do think this will swing south. So I think the HRR is a little bit more reasonable, or the GFS. The NAM's becoming an outlier now because more malls are hinting to less of an ice threat for at least some portions of Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, but still becoming a huge threat for South Carolina and the Charlotte